In the 90s, European cars were the undisputed kings, sleek, high-tech, and engineered with surgical precision, which made you think that American cars could never survive in a world obsessed with refinement and control. But what if I told you that an American beast didn't just survive, but humiliated the very cars it was never supposed to compete with? This legend is the Dodge Viper, a sports car so raw, so unrefined, it broke every rule in the European supercar playbook. But to understand how it did the impossible, we have to go back to 1988, where Chrysler had just clawed its way back from the brink of bankruptcy. Performance? Well, that was something from Chrysler's distant past. But inside their headquarters, a rebellion was brewing. Bob Lutz, Chrysler's president at the time, was growing increasingly frustrated with the company's image. He was a car guy through and through, and believed American manufacturers had surrendered too much ground to European automakers. During a leadership meeting in early 1988, Lutz threw down the gauntlet.
Milestone America.
We need to remind the world that Chrysler can still build something special. And the crazy thing is, the spark came from something deceptively simple. What would eventually become the Viper started as a modern interpretation of the legendary Shelby Cobra. Raw, unfiltered, and unapologetically American. What happened next was unprecedented in modern automotive development. Rather than going through normal channels, Lutz assembled a skunkworks team named Team Viper, a small group of passionate engineers and designers who operated largely outside Chrysler's structure. Many worked nights and weekends, fueled by a shared vision and the understanding that they were building something extraordinary. But that wasn't all. The team also had a secret weapon, none other than Carroll Shelby himself, who Lutz had brought on as a consultant. Shelby, creator of the original Cobra, provided both technical guidance and spiritual authority to the project. His presence silently answered the question hanging over the team: can Chrysler really build a world-class performance car? If Shelby believed, so could they. However, the financial realities were brutal. While Ferrari and Lamborghini were spending hundreds of millions developing their latest supercars, Team Viper was operating on what amounted to a corporate rounding error. Roughly $85 million for the entire program. This brutal budget constraint forced radical thinking. Rather than building a sophisticated engine from scratch, the team turned to Chrysler's existing truck division. They took the 5.9-liter V8 from the Dodge Ram, added 2 cylinders to create an 8-liter V10, and then stripped it down to its essentials. No variable valve timing, no dual overhead cams, no turbos or superchargers, just massive displacement and a focus on reliability and torque. The chassis philosophy followed the exact same principles. While European manufacturers were incorporating advanced electronic aids, Team Viper took the opposite approach. No anti-lock brakes, no traction control, not even exterior door handles or side windows. This wasn't an oversight. It was a deliberate strategy to create a pure driver's machine that demanded respect and skill. Perhaps most remarkable, though, was the development timeline. From concept approval to production, the Viper took just 36 months, roughly half the time of a typical European exotic car development cycle. By May 1990, a running prototype was completed, and by December 91, the first production cars were delivered. When the Viper RT10 finally launched in 1992, it represented something no one expected from Chrysler: an 8-liter V10 monster producing 400 horsepower, 60 miles an hour in just 4.6 seconds, and a top speed of 165. These numbers put it in the company of other great exotics. However, the difference is they cost 3 times its price. While European manufacturers had spent decades refining their formulas through racing heritage and technological sophistication, Team Viper had just crashed the supercar party. Their car, the Viper, was like a sledgehammer in a room full of surgical instruments. And the numbers told a story that many enthusiasts couldn't believe. You see, a Ferrari 348 commanded $122,000. A Lamborghini Diablo, nearly $240,000. But the Viper, a mere $55,000. This wasn't just a price difference, it was an economic earthquake in the supercar landscape. There was a slight problem though. When the Viper first appeared at European auto shows, the reception was predictably dismissive. Here was this crude American machine with its truck-derived engine, lacking even the most basic amenities. European journalists sneered at its simple chassis and absence of electronic systems. The Viper's approach to performance couldn't have been more philosophically different from its European counterparts. But what made the Viper's performance unique was how it delivered its speed. European supercars typically relied on high-revving engines that required skill to extract maximum performance. The Viper, however, with its massive V10, delivered tsunami waves of low-end torque. It didn't need to be revved to the stratosphere. It simply shoved you forward with the relentless force of a freight train from virtually any RPM. This brute force approach created an entirely different driving experience that many enthusiasts found intoxicating. The Viper's lack of driver aids further distinguished it from its European rivals. No ABS to prevent lockups during hard braking, and no traction control to save you from your own right foot. While European manufacturers were adding layers of electronic safety nets, the Viper demanded that its driver bring skill to the equation. A throwback approach that created a pure, unfiltered connection between car and driver. And all of a sudden, this car that everyone laughed at silenced all its critics. Its raw character translated into a visceral driving experience that many enthusiasts found more engaging than the increasingly computerized European offerings. As electronic systems began mediating the driving experience in high-end European sports cars, the Viper offered something increasingly rare: mechanical authenticity. Every input had a direct, unfiltered consequence. Every sensation came through with crystal clarity. There was no algorithm deciding how much power you should have, just your right foot and 400 horsepower of consequence. The Viper's price-to-performance ratio fundamentally disrupted the supercar market. It demolished the notion that world-class performance required exotic materials, complex engineering, and six-figure price tags. This wasn't just embarrassing for European manufacturers, it forced them to reconsider their own formulas. When a $55,000 American sports car could outrun vehicles costing triple its price, the entire supercar economy faced an existential crisis. But that wasn't all. The Viper's racing success also added insult to injury. The GTSR competition version secured 3 consecutive class wins at the 24-Hour of Le Mans from 1998 to 2000. The phrase Ferrari and Porsche killer began appearing whenever the Viper lined up on the grid. The Viper's audacious story permanently altered the global automotive landscape. While European magazines initially dismissed this yank tank, they were eventually forced to acknowledge its capabilities. It wasn't just an American car that could compete. It was a cultural statement wrapped in fiberglass and aluminum. The Viper became the bridge between American and European performance cultures, adorned with stars and stripes motifs as a symbol of national pride. The Viper didn't just win races, it rewrote the rules of engagement. Its spirit lives on in today's performance cars, a reminder that innovation often requires breaking tradition.